crime one first, because these aren't allegations, folks. These are facts. I'm going to hand out a sworn statement that I gave to the FBI. It's a sworn affidavit. You'll see my signature on it. I challenge Cliff Stearns to do the same thing. But first, let me just talk about James Jett. I was a police officer. I graduated from the FBI Academy, graduated from Jacksonville Police Academy, served as a law enforcement officer in Orange Park for several years, ran for county commissioner, was elected 3 terms to represent the Middleburg-Clay Hill District. I've served for 14 years as your clerk of circuit courts here. During that time, my integrity, my character was challenged. In 1989, there was a group of people that wanted to locate a hazardous materials disposal facility just south of Middleburg, here, right over the Floridian Aquifer. We turned them down from a zoning standpoint. They approached me, had a guy approach me, offered me $30,000 to reinstitute that zoning to try to get that approved. I did then what I've just done with this issue. I immediately contacted the state attorney. The state attorney's office asked me to wear a body bug, asked me to audio tape my phone. As a matter of fact, Sheriff Beasler was the investigator for the state attorney's office back then. Subject was subsequently arrested, tried, and convicted of attempted bribery. So I run on the issue that in Congress, we need people of character. We need people who are willing to stand up, because this is the most difficult time, I believe, in American history. Newt Gingrich said this is the most important election in his generation. Rush Limbaugh said this is the most important election in the history of America. And a lot of it has to do with what was read just a few minutes ago. Because we have a government in Washington that has no regard for the U.S. Constitution. And I am a strict constitutionalist. I do not believe it's a living document. I believe it's a literal document. And when you have a president or a Congress that disobeys the Constitution, then they should be held accountable for that. Tonight, I've decided to run for this office in December and January of last year, when of 2011, January of 2012. What happened was the state Senate produced their maps for the Congressional District, October, November, somewhere in that time frame. The Congressional District, District 3 now is this number, is very conducive to someone from Clay County winning that. Clay County has about 41% of the Republican vote for the entire district. Clay County and Alachua County together has almost 70% of the vote. So it is a seat that was very conducive for our county. Congressman Sterarns wants someone from Clay County to represent this congressional district. He does not want someone who will move into Clay County. He wants someone from Clay County. Words similar to that was also said at the monthly meeting of the Republican Executive Committee. Based on those comments and based on the fact of the demographics of this race, I said, okay, I'm withdrawing my candidacy as your clerk of course, for re-election. I'm going to run for this. A week and a half later, a couple weeks later, I received a call from Sherry Porter. It says Congressman Sterarns wanted me to let you know that he's now considering moving into this district and running for this race. I said, fine, I'm not getting out. I called Congressman Stearns, got him on his cell phone. I think he was in Washington, wherever he was at. I asked him, and he said, yes, Jimmy, I'm considering running for this seat, District 3, and not the seat that I live in, which is in Marion County, where his home is. So I told him the same thing. I said, well, Congressman, I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. I am going to continue to run. I am not getting out. This conversation. It was like the last week of January, somewhere along there. Well, then the fun began. I said, well, it doesn't matter. I said, I'm going to have endorsements from other clerks of courts in other counties. I'm going to have endorsements from other tax collectors and constitutional officers. I'm going to have endorsements from other sheriffs in those counties. I am going to run. I'm not getting out. He said, well, you need to hear the whole story. And I said, what is that? He said, the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, is coming to Clay County for a fundraiser on March the 2nd. Now, this was before anybody knew this. I had not heard this. There were 2 people sitting in my office. I was engaged in a meeting with them when I received that call. So contrary to what Cliff Stearns' spokesman said, that was not an illegal recording or anything. That phone call came in from Jim Horn on my private cell number, in front of 2 witnesses. And I repeated a lot of the conversation. I said, John Boehner, what's he coming to see me for? He said, well, he wants to have a private meeting with you, and he wants to make you an offer. And I said, what do you mean? He said, he wants to make you an offer to get out of the race and support Cliff Stearns. I said, what kind of offer? He said, anything you want, his exact words. I said, well, Jim, there's really nothing I want. I'm thinking back, I'm having deja vu because this is kind of what happened, 22 years earlier. And I said, there's nothing I want. I'm not looking for a job. I don't believe that running for public office is a job. I think it's a calling. So I'm going to continue to run. He said, well, keep an open mind. We ended the conversation, pleasant conversation, in the 17th. That was on a Friday. The next Tuesday at about 7:30, I have all the times down, I received another call from Judge Sapp. Now here's where they crossed the line. He says, Jimmy, here's the final offer. He said, this is what's going to be, Cliff is going to offer you. He says, number one, he says, he'll make whole all of your campaign contributions that you've spent. All the monies you've spent in the campaign thus far, he will make whole. And that's about $25,000 to $30,000. I said, well, it's kind of interesting. I haven't heard that before. I said, how's he going to do that? So, well, he's either going to hire you as a political consultant for Clay County, or he's going to get direct donations for you. I said, okay. Secondly, we're going to get you tickets to the Republican National Conference, what is it, coming up in August? Convention. Republican National Convention, tickets on the floor with VIP status. Now, I've been told all kinds of different prices. Those are worth anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000. I don't know what they're worth. But he said, we want to keep your name elevated. That will give you some prestige there so that when you get ready to run for Congress in 4 to 6 years, when Cliff gets out, then you'll be in a position to do so. So I said, okay, that's interesting. So those are the 2 things immediately. He says, now, U.S. Marshal, he went over that again. FDLE, he went over that again. That's number 3 and 4. He said, if those don't work out because a Republican president is not elected, you can't get the U.S. Marshal's position without a Republican president, and the FDLE doesn't work out because the guy doesn't retire, then here's offer number 5. Number 5 is this. We'll give you any position in the Republican Party of Florida that you want. Any position. Number 6, if you don't want that, we've got a lobbying firm who will hire you in Tallahassee. Now all of these jobs, these last 4, was going to take effect after I left office in December. So those were the 6 offers. Well, as an elected official, as a constitutional officer, I take an oath of office that I must, under Florida law, report something that I believe to be criminal misconduct. I immediately called my brother, who, by the way, was a lieutenant with the sheriff's office, who 22 years earlier, I did the same thing and called him, because he was a police officer then, and he guided me, and he said, I went over it with him, he said, you've got to report this. He said, I believe they crossed the line, I believe they committed a criminal act. We sat down, FBI, two agents come in, sat down with us and said, FBI doesn't like to get involved in political issues, and that's how the conversation started. And I said, wait a minute, we're not here to file a complaint. I said, repeated the same thing. By law, I have to report it. By law, as a deputy sheriff, my brother has to report it since he's made knowledge of it. Tell us that there's nothing wrong. We all leave. Don't spend any taxpayers' monies, and we're gone. And they said, no. We think there's a criminal act. We want to talk to you about it. So that's how the conversation went. So folks, that's what I plan to do. I'm staying in this race because this is what's wrong with America. We do not need people in Washington that will do anything or pay any price to maintain their position in Congress. We need people who are willing to stand up for against the Democrats and say to the Democrats and their ideology, enough is enough. And that's why I'm running for Congress.